All right, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday. Great to be here once again. All right, so today is January 26, 2024. Couple quick announcements. All right, the purpose of Stock Analysis Friday is for me to use our software tools here at traderscoach.com and then apply them on stocks that you would like me to look at. And the nice thing about this is that when everybody brings a few stocks to look at, we usually find a handful of stocks by the end of the session that are really excellent possibilities for trading. So that's purpose number one. And of course, if you are thinking about yourself buying or even selling something, bring it here and we'll give you a review or analysis on that particular stock from a technical standpoint. Now, I'm not going to be using any fundamentals today. This is just patterns. This is using the applied reality trading software that specializes in looking at patterns and things of that nature in the markets. And you'll see that on the charts. I'll go over that quickly when we get going here. But go ahead and type your stocks in when you're ready and type them in caps. Now, one thing I love about your feedback, and we've gotten a lot of feedback this week on our Stock Analysis Friday. And so what we want to do is get to everybody's stocks or ETFs. That's a given. But I think what would be a good idea going forward based on the feedback is let's say you can type in 3 stocks and hold off on that, type those in, we'll look those up, see if anybody else has any they want me to look up. And then if we didn't go through your entire list, type in the remainder of your list in sets of 3s. So that way we get to everybody as quick as possible. What we've been experiencing, and this is fine, but we've been experiencing a laundry list of stocks, let's say by one person, and it takes us a while to go through all those. And it's kind of unfair because then we don't get to everybody's stock in a kind of an orderly way. So the idea here is we don't want to neglect anybody's stocks that they want to put in, but we're trying to make it in a more orderly fashion. So let's work on that today and see how that goes. So maximum of 3 stocks per person. If nobody else is coming in with any additional stocks, you can put your next 3 in, okay, until we get to your entire list. All right, well, let's go ahead and get going here today. I'm going to switch over to the intro slides here. Let me just go through a few administrational items, if you don't mind. All right, first thing we want to go over, of course, are the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without that risk, there's no opportunity, but you do need to be aware of the risks, and there's many different kinds of risks when we trade the financial markets. There's market risk, there's trade risk. You can calculate and control your trade risk. Market risk is usually an event that occurs unexpectedly out of left field, so to speak, that may cause the markets to gap way past your carefully chosen stop or exit position. So in other words, you can take a larger loss with a market risk event than you would plan. But if you calculate your trade risk on each and every trade, then that usually market risk event will not be as devastating as it would be if you didn't plan on trade risk. So keep that in mind. And basically with market risk, this is why you want to fund your money, your trading account with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. So no matter how much money you have, all right, you don't want to bet the farm in a trading account. Instead, what you want to really do is use a portion of your assets or net worth in a trading account. So in case you have a market risk event, it's not devastating for you. So I just like to throw that out to you to help you protect the risk in trading the financial markets. And then finally, check with your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure any of the stocks I recommend here are suitable for you. Some may or may not be suitable depending on your personal situation. And of course, they should certainly know that. All right. And then finally, past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. We deal in a realm of probabilities. So keep that in mind as well. And again, that's the case for using risk control, because even if you have an edge in the market, you're not going to win all the time. So definitely keep that in mind. All right, I've got a couple books if you want to dive further into the money management and risk control situation. I've got a Trader's Money Management System, the Money Management for Traders book. I've got a whole host of other books on technical analysis, including my newest book that's coming out this year called The Art of Trading, 2nd edition. So you can check those out. And if you're watching the recording or come back and watch the recording, I'll put links to our Amazon page that you can purchase those. All right, when we look at stocks, we are going to be looking at software tools that we use here. If you're interested in these software tools, there's two places you can go to check them out. One's called the appliedrealitytrading.com website. You can see the link below in the banner on this video here. And the next one is our corporate site called traderscoach.com. So either one of those two places, you can learn more about our software. We have charting software, we have scanners, and we have risk control software. I'll explain that a little bit more during the presentation. And then finally, give us a like, subscribe, and share. Again, the more people we get here, the better. And of course, that means that we can look up more stocks. And we're usually here, you know, it depends how many people come in. It depends how many stocks people type in. We're usually here from an hour to maybe an hour and a half sometimes. All right. And that's absolutely A-OK because we want to get through everybody's stocks. All right. So remember, type about 3 in at a time, and you can, you know, come back and type more, but let's try to keep the flow going like that. All right, one quick situation I want to do is just run over what you're looking at here. This is my charting platform with our software all installed. This happens to be the Ninja Trader charting platform. It's an excellent platform. Our software also works on TradeStation for those TradeStation users, another excellent platform, eSignal, multi-charts, and also MT4 and MT5, which are used basically for the crypto market, not the crypto market, the Forex market rather, sorry. What you're looking in front of you here is the crypto market. And what I do is I put 3 charts up. This is called multiple time frame analysis. I put the 60-minute chart over here on the left, a daily chart here on the center, and this gives you an intermediate look. And the long-term look is a weekly chart over here, all of the same symbol. All right. So that's kind of the way we analyze stocks. It's great for timing and so forth to get an idea of the short, intermediate, and long-term aspect of whatever we're looking at. Now, our software is superimposed or installed on or loaded on each chart. These pyramids that represent a trend trade take trend trading patterns to the extreme. It's kind of like an AI, so to speak, because it's looking at a lot of the momentum in the market. It's analyzing that, coming up with the most high probability trades out there. If one doesn't form, it means it didn't like it, and therefore it's not a high probability trade. Now, as you can see on this crypto market, which GBTC is the ETF for Bitcoin, you can see the pyramids did a beautiful job aligning you to get in early on that trend on the first pyramid. And then we also use them to trail our stops under key levels of support. So that's kind of how that works there. On the bottom, you have something called the OWL, which is measuring momentum and telling us the Elliott wave count, which is a wave 3 for those that like Elliott wave. Then you have a 4 correction and a 5 final top. You have the PTF here indicating whether it's neutral, bullish, or bearish. When it's yellow, it's neutral. And then you have underneath the trend line master, which is telling us the overall trend, green, bullish. And then you have something called the ERI ribbon down here at the bottom, which indicates when markets are manic, either to the upside or the downside. So that's measuring fear and greed in relation to the trend line, an orderly trend line. So that's kind of what you're looking at on here in the top. We got scanners. All right, let's jump right in and get going here and see what we got here. All right, Ray, let's see what you want to take a look. Tesla, excellent. All right, Tesla and Coinbase. Those are 2 excellent ones to look at. All right, and Apple for possibly sell. All right, so first of all, Tesla has been correcting. You know, it went up earlier in the summer, and now it's correcting. And let's open up the long-term chart. Let's kind of get an idea of the roadmap of what we're looking at in terms of the overall cycle in Tesla. All right, this is a fairly clean Elliott wave here. This is a 3, all right? We had a very large correction down to this area. And we actually did probably not go below wave or into wave 1. So this is probably a wave 4. It's coming back down again, and that's okay. You might get a double bottom here, or you might just get a pull down a little further and have a turnaround. So the bottom line is a long trade here is a possibility once this correction's over, and it will do well provided this bottom is a bottom and holds. So if I had to take a look at the cycle, I would say 3, 4, we're probably in a 5, but in a profit-taking portion inside wave 5. So after this ends, we should have some more movement back to the upside. I don't think it's over quite yet. All right, I think we are still in it, obviously. And notice on the shorter term charts here now that I have loaded, take a look at the chart in the center. We have a red PTF. And when this is red, it's indicating more lows are coming. And so that's what that is saying. And as you can see, it has been coming down. If we look at the 60-minute chart for the real short-term aspect, well, this is a big wave 3 down in this correction. So we have red and red in here. We'll probably get a rebound, but if this is red and this is a wave 3, then we'll have a return to the downside. So if you're thinking of a long position in Tesla, wait. All right, it's not done coming down yet. So that's what this is telling you. And this is why I always look, when I look at a market, with these 3 time frames, because they really do help give you the overall picture. All right, Coinbase, let's take a look at that one. All right, so Coinbase, if you remember before when we looked at cryptos a month or so ago, you remember it was like going up like a banshee. And I told you back then, I said, we're probably due for some profit taking. Don't chase this market. And sure enough, that's exactly what we had and we are having. So we're in this profit taking phase because we had such a big run up since October, right through the end of December. So, all right, so we're in a profit taking. Now, a couple things to take from this. One is if we look at the long-term chart, we have a green PTF. So this PTF is saying more highs are coming. How high? Well, notice the highest price bar in this green PTF on the long-term chart is the high right here. So there is a 75% probability, because that's the accuracy rate of this indicator, that we will eventually return and take out that high. What that indicator does not tell us is when or how long the correction is going to last before it does again take out that high. So that's why we have to look at the short-term charts to kind of get an idea of when it is time to buy. So the overall picture, more highs coming. The short-term picture, okay, if we go to the daily chart here, is we've got a red owl. So this is a 3 of some degree. This is a 4. And after that, we should have more highs with a 5. So this needs to go green before we can get super excited that this move down is over. Green PTF agreeing with the green PTF over here. Let's go to the 60-minute chart. Little different story. We got a red PTF, a little bit of red here, bullish divergence. Okay, so this is calling for more lows on Coinbase. So this correction's not over. Now, what I'm interested in seeing here is that we have bullish divergence in the owl. So we're probably getting towards the end here of this move down. So we'll probably get a rebound, maybe up to 140, maybe 150, but then it should drop back down. So I think we've got a little bit of time left on this correction. So I would hold off on Coinbase until that 60-minute chart and even the daily chart look a little more bullish. That's how we use the tools to help us time. All right, Apple, let's take a look at your next one. I appreciate you typing in just 3 this time. And if you have more, you can come back and type them in after we've had a chance to go through some of the others. All right, so let's take a look at Apple here. Apple looks pretty good right now, okay? It's moving up. The only problem with it is we got a red PTF on the daily chart. So this has got to change to green before I can get super excited about it. So what I'm afraid of here, the fact that it's red, this may be an A, this may be a B, and we might have a move down on C, okay? That's the only thing that I'm concerned about. All right, so you're thinking about selling Apple. Okay, that's fine. You still got a green PTF here. All right, so short term, it's still probably moving up a little bit higher. I'd be interested to see if this top holds. Let's bring this back next week and see if what happens. If we go above that top there, but we still have a red PTF on the daily, then you're getting into an area where you probably do want to get it ready to sell it, okay? Especially if this goes yellow when it breaks above the PTF high. All right, so I'd hold on to it for a little longer, okay? Good question, though. All right, thanks, Ray. All right, if you have any more, feel free to type them in today. All right, so let's see what we got. All right, let's see, Ted. All right, Gene's typing these in for Ted. He just called it. Okay, great, Ted. Let's take a look at Amazon. See what's cooking on Amazon. Let me just readjust these indicators down a little bit more here. Okay, so Amazon is on a tear. Okay, looks like it's doing pretty well. Let's open up this chart here. Boy, okay, that's good. All right, so this is definitely an Elliott wave 3 for you Elliott wave people. Looks like we may have had a nice wave 4 done. All right, we've got green here. All right, and now we're moving up. So we should break this high and end up on a wave 5, which should be the final push up on Amazon for quite some time. So, you know, here's a situation where we're looking at, you know, and I could show you tech stock after tech stock for the most part that have a similar configuration. Google is like this as well. And basically they're indicating we're in wave 5, which means more highs. This is why I don't think the stock market is quite ready to go into a major correction. Profit taking, yes, but not a major correction. The NASDAQ stocks are extremely bullish still. So if we draw some fib extensions, we can get a longer term look at where this thing is possibly going. And so if we just come up to here and here, you know, we're going to break that high more than likely. Okay, so 185 to 247, and maybe even a little more if it gets extended, but that's probably a fairly realistic target zone for Amazon. So if you're in it, probably stay in it at this particular point. All right, now from a short-term aspect here, all right, we've had a tremendous run up and it's not done. Look at the 60-minute chart. We're getting that final push up here. So it looks to me like, you know, we've had the pullback, we've had one more run up, we're seeing bearish divergence. I would say if you're thinking about going into this right now, I would hold off because you're going to get some type of pullback on Amazon before it resumes back and starts tracking back up to that target zone on the weekly chart. So I would not go in it now. If you're in it and you want to take advantage of your swing trade, well, then by all means have your stop right below our pyramid stop point here. And this again is the art software working to tell us where to put our stops. And that low is 149.91. So one tick under that. 149.90 is where you can have your stop for that. All right. If you're long term and you just want to hold it until you get way up there, use the pyramid on the weekly chart, which is 144.04 for your stop. All right. Good. All right. Let's take a look at your next one. GSL. GSL. All right. Again, not so bad. Okay. I see no red PTFs on any of the time frames. I see a nice move off this bottom here that's been underway really since December. The long-term look, let's open that one up. All right, we've had a nice bounce off a real shallow bottom. Look how great the pyramids did here, getting you in early and coming right on up. Your first trade actually would have been when the PTF turned green. So it would have been right here, okay? You would have been stopped out of this trend here because we tracked up actually here. You would have been stopped out. And this is kind of the mess that you can get during a profit-taking phase. So a big move up, profit-taking, looks like it's trying to break out again. Good sign. All right, you see this high right here? Let's see if we've gone over that. Let me magnify that in a little bit here so we can take a look at that. And we have exceeded it. So if I draw a line in here using our drawing tools here, let's just draw a horizontal line in. You can see we've just broken above that high. That's a really good sign that we're on our way up to the next high level. And where would that be? Probably somewhere, let me just remove that. Probably somewhere in the above this high here, probably around the 36 range or so. Let's draw some fib extensions and get a little more exact. All right, so if we draw something in here along these means here, let's use this area here, here, and here. So probably around the 30.89 to 40.92. Now, some of you will say, well, why didn't you start the fib extension way at the bottom? It's the way in which I draw them. I try to use the Elliott wave 2 and the impulsive wave to get an idea of where the 70% line will be for the extension. That puts it right about here. So this is my target. So that looks really good, right? Let's see if there's any type of situation going on. Okay, this looks good. All right, so here's my only thing with this. I'm not a market chaser. We've had 4 pyramids in a row. I would wait for a pullback on this and then get in. All right, so you hit this high here. Sometimes you get a little resistance there. I have no qualms about this going higher. My question is timing now. So if we draw in a retracement here to here, we could get a pullback between 20 to 19 before it resumes back up towards the target zone on the weekly chart. So I would wait on this one. Now that doesn't mean we may not get a brief little high and maybe it'll pop up to 22, but it's Russian roulette, okay? You're on borrowed time here. Wait for the pullback and then get in. That's the way I play it. All right, and let's take a look at your other one, TRIP. All right, so TRIP's also moving up, looking really actually pretty good on the weekly chart in terms of maybe we got a bottom here. This is actually really excellent, okay? So we got a situation here where we have a bottom. This bottom here is at 1373. Let's put a horizontal line so you can see that more clearly there. All right. Notice that the market tried to attack that bottom. So it went way up. Now it's gone way down, but it's held. Then we had a bounce from there. All right. So that's a good indication. We do have green and we have green. So this is indicating eventually, once we really can establish we're in an uptrend, excuse me, we should take out this high here. So you're talking about back in around 67 or so. So that's a big deal. All right. That's a lot of white up here, a lot of profit, right? Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. So I'm liking what I see here. Now, we broke a support level on the trend down here. We pulled back. We went higher again. This is really, from a weekly standpoint, looking really good, and you got a green out. Let's just take a quick look at some of these other charts. Okay, I'm liking all this. Now, again, I do think we might get a little bit of a profit-taking pullback, but I'm looking at this as a long-term trade, and I really like what I see. So I'm going to initiate this as a buy, and you can go into it right now. Let's get your stop as low as possible, all right? If you can put your stop at the very bottom of this pullback here, which is 1429, so 1428, that's pretty good, but that's pretty far. So probably more likely you'll put it below this pyramid here, which is fine too, at 1779. So you got to give this market a little room to breathe and a little room for profit taking, but that should do it. So TRIP is going in the buy list, all right? And I would make this a long-term one. Now, how long? Well, in order for you to get above the $60 high here, which actually the exact value on that is $64.95, that ain't going to happen in the next 6 months. That's going to take years, okay? So when I say this is a long-term trade, that's what I'm saying. If you're short-term swing trading it, all right, you may want to wait for this to pull down again before going in it. But for a long-term trade, definitely a nice one, okay? So good job, all right? And that is for Ted. All right, let's move along here. I think I got that. Stu, how are you, Stuart? All right, FIVN. FIVN. Let's take a look at this one. I don't think we've looked at this one before. All right, selling or scaling out, okay? And then we'll take a look at AMD and DWAC. All right, so I think, Stuart, you can hold this one, okay? All right, I don't think I would get out of this. The daily chart's a little messy, as you can see, but we have a green PTF. We have a green PTF here, okay? So short term, we're probably working our way back up. So a little bit of a hold. Long term, this is kind of interesting. 3, 4, 5. All right, so if you want to hold this for several years, this wouldn't be a bad one to do that. And this is exactly the cool thing about technical analysis. Let's say you got a call from your broker, okay? And he said, you know, I've got this stock, FIVN, that looks like a buy here. Do you want to buy it? Well, you go, hold on 1 second. Let's check the applied reality trading system and see if it agrees with your buy. And it does, okay? Because here's your 3. You know, we use many forms of technical analysis. Here's your 3, 4, okay? And now we're in 5. Now this was the 3 here, but now it's moved over to here because this was wave 3 and inside C wave of the correction. So we're moving up at this point to wave 5. So this would be a good one for a long-term buy. Okay, again, long-term. So this is one where you could tell your broker, okay, I'll go into it. So that's a good way to kind of check your broker to see if the technicals agree with his fundamentals, because they will call you based on fundamentals. All right, so there you have that. Short-term trade, the only thing I can tell you with this is we're probably going to get a strong move up. There's a strong possibility of taking this out. And if that's the case, then we could get some nice movement to the upside as it works its way into wave 5. So I'm kind of liking that. I don't think I'd scale out of that. All right, AMD, let's take a look at that one. All right, AMD looking good as well, of course. This one's a little different. Now let's open up the weekly chart. Okay, so this is exactly what I think is going to happen on FIVN and TRIP long term. This is a weekly chart, 3, 4, and notice we're in our 5. Okay, so there you have it. We're probably close to a target, even long term on this. So let's take a look at that really quickly and draw in our fib extension target zone based on this chart analysis. And I think we're probably right there already. See, we're already in it. So this is one that looks pretty good. Now, here's where the indicators that we have at the bottom help us. So this is still showing green. So even if you got some pullback here, there's a 75% probability, not 100, but 75, that this thing will go back in and go higher in the target zone. That's what that's saying, okay? So you could technically hold this, all right? And if you wanted to scale out because that makes you feel better, you could do that. But it looks like it's going higher in the target zone, but it is in the target zone. So scaling out could be warranted here if the lower time frames are indicating that. All right, so let's just say the daily chart still moving up. Now we're in a major impulsive wave here. So after this 3, you will get some type of pullback, but then more highs. Once that finishes wave 5, you definitely want to dump the stock, because that'll be the highest you'll probably get out of it. And that will put it back in the higher target zone in accordance with what the weekly chart was telling you. All right, now we've got a big move up here. So if you want to scale out, what I would do here is I would probably use a pyramid on the 60-minute chart to knock out a scale out position if you're interested in doing that. But just remember, if it corrects, it should return. But if that helps you to relax a little bit and lock in some profits, that's great, because the pullback could be kind of decent on this. And when I say decent, it could be as much as coming down to 150 to 128. So that's quite a lot. So I can see scaling out here would be good. So let's see what happens with this. If you get another pyramid forming and one more high on this short-term high, then you can move your stop up. But AMD is a candidate for scaling out at some point if you want to. I'm not going to recommend it for a buy, though. It's too far gone. All right, again, DWAC, you got to love this one, right? On our recommended list here. So on this one here, you still got a green PTF on all 3 time frames. And even though it looks like an incredible move up on the daily and even the 60-minute, you can see a little more proportionally what it looks like on the weekly chart. Not a lot of history on this, which makes the Elliott wave count difficult on that long-term time frame. But the indicators have changed to green, which give me great confidence we're moving back up. Now, it's not unusual to see this, all right? Big move up, profit taking. But this is indicating we should head back on up, and you may be getting that right now, okay? So what would you do on this? I would probably, in terms of a couple things here, we've got some interesting things on the 60-minute chart. You've got the red owl here. If this goes green, probably a buy, okay? You've got an inside price bar here from Thursday based on the Wednesday's high and low. That's an inside price bar. So if we break above that today or even Monday, then you're probably good now for a move back to the upside. And by the time that happens, this probably will turn green. So I'm very bullish on this. All right. I'm going to put this on a watch list because I want to make sure that we break above that inside price bar on the 60-minute chart. but by all means, this could be really a phenomenal potential. If you're in it already, just stay with it, okay? And that's DWAC. All right, thank you. All right, let's see what we got here. Jim, how are you? USO. USO. All right, so on USO, what we're going to open up is the weekly chart first and take a look at this big move we've had off the bottom here. All right, so what we're keying on this here is we had this big move up off the bottom. We had a retracement, and now we're probably working our way up at this point. So we got to make sure this bottom holds. All right. So far it has, okay? And so far we're starting to see a little turnaround. I'd like to see this go green, but that's at least an indication we got to get above this little bearish pyramid indicating the downslide. So at this particular point, okay, if you're already long, you have to have your stop at least at this pyramid here, down at the bottom here, okay, at this point, okay? So that's where you should be at this point. So possibly pretty good, okay? And the short-term charts are kind of indicating we're bouncing off that pullback. So that they're getting kind of bullish here, all right? That's not too bad, and that's not too bad. All right, so I'm kind of liking this. So I think I'm going to put this down as a buy, all right, USO. And I think you can go in. The target on this is going to be above this high here. And let's assume we have a bottom in here. Let's draw our fib extensions. 2, 3, and 4. So we're looking at 99 to about 125. Unfortunately, if that happens, that'll be higher prices at the pump, right? And this trade will be successful if this bottom holds, right? So keep that in mind, all right? So that's kind of where I'm at on that. So I'm going to put that down as a buy at this point. We had it on a hold list for those that use our subscription services, but we're moving that over to a buy because things now in the lower time frames are looking pretty good. All right, let's take a look at UNG, the natural gas ETFs. ETFs are exchange traded funds, and basically they're a great way to trade indexes with just using the stock market. So UNG is natural gas. All right, so UNG, kind of interesting here. We're having a little bit of a basing here at the bottom, and we have had a move up, okay? So you can see the gap up on the 60-minute chart on the far left. Now, we got a little, we have not taken out any key. Let me just open up this weekly chart, and let me magnify this area in here. So from a long-term perspective, any long trade here would be risky, simply because we kind of need to take out this little high here, all right? And there's our bottom. So could we make one more bottom? It is possible, all right? And with this chart here, you know, technically we still have an active stop on a short trade right here. So if we went short here, our stop would be down here. Be a nice profitable trade, even if this thing now tears to the upside and we get stopped out at a profit. So the million-dollar question is, okay, is this a bottom here? That's the million-dollar question. This chart's not helping to answer this because we haven't even broke above this here to indicate we're in an uptrend at all. We could just be still basing. Let's take a look at this. You can see that here as well, okay? So what I'm liking about these lower time frames, though, is we did generate a green PTF indicating we should get above that. But we're just, you know, right along the bottom. This is red, this is green. So I would wait for this to get above this channel. I mean, even if we took a straight edge here and drew the top of that, let's just use a horizontal line and put it at one of the highest ones here, okay? If it broke out there, that would be pretty definitive that we have broken out of the basing pattern. If we move this down here, okay, that if we break out of that pattern and that owl, which is the histogram, turns green, I would probably initiate a buy on that. It would be an early buy, but a buy nonetheless. So it's indicating we should get above that according to the PTF. So that's kind of interesting. So if you really want to roll the dice, so to speak, and go with the PTF 75% probabilities that we'll get above that high, you could go into this now. Okay, that would give you a pretty good chance of getting above that. The problem with the PTFs is we don't know when it's going to return, and it is possible we could make another bottom. We could even go lower, all right, before the market turns up, and the PTF could remain green the entire time. So that's why I would not put this on a buy list yet. I would let's wait on this until we see that area of resistance taken out on UNG. All right, Microsoft, let's take a look at that bad boy. All right, so Microsoft is still moving up. Now, a couple things. Let's open up that weekly chart. Okay, so here we've got an owl oscillator here, higher than here. So this is not a 3, okay? We're in the 3 now. So when you see something where the oscillator goes higher on what you thought was wave 5, then wave 3, it's no longer a wave 5, it is the continuation of wave 3. Because wave 3 always has the highest momentum and highest volume. And so that supersedes it. So, okay, but we're seeing bearish divergence inside this move up, and we've had a pretty nice move up really since October, okay? So again, like the entire market, I think we're due for some profit taking at some point. I think it's a matter of when, not a matter of if. But, you know, I don't want to put you guys in and chase a market that could be very close to correcting. Now, what's nice about the daily chart is it's giving us a little more insight as well on this current move here, okay? So if this is wave 3 on the weekly, all right, and notice that the oscillator here, okay, is pretty high. This is probably wave 5 on the daily. So we're probably getting close to a top, but we're not quite there yet. So if we drew in a fib extension to try to find the top of wave 5 on this one, we're kind of looking at this, this, and this. All right, and we're entering into that target. So we're getting pretty close to the top, okay, of this impulsive move up that we're seeing, especially on the weekly chart. So I would not buy this at this point, but wait for the pullback, and then, you know, that will be the next opportunity. So if you're in Microsoft, I just put your stop right around here at 367, probably 360, what is that? 366.49. If you want to take profits because you're in the target zone, then use this stop here on the 60-minute chart at 402.37, okay? You've got a green PTF, so you're going higher, okay? So that's Microsoft. Thanks, Jim. Okay, let's keep moving on here. All right, Dan, let's take a look at Dan here. Hey, this is working pretty good. I like the 3 stocks for each person, right? Because you can always come back and give me your other 3, okay? But it keeps it flowing, I think. I think it's a little more fair for everybody. All right, SPY, the spider. All right, this is one of those that we're making highs. This is exactly what I'm talking about, the PTF. So the PTF has been red, all right, for a long time on this, indicating that during the next correction, we should head down. But we have been making highs even with the red PTF there. So, you know, you got to be careful about the PTF in terms of the fact that we don't know when it's going to turn around and actually be correct, and it's going to be on the next major correction. All right, so we moved up quite a bit here on the spider. You know, I think the overall markets, whether it's the spider representing the S&P 500 or whether it's the NASDAQ market or, you know, the S&P, the regular Dow, you know, we've been going up hard since October. So we're due for some profit taking. So I don't think it's a matter, again, like I said before, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And, you know, we're still heading up, so it's not quite ready yet. But I would anticipate profit taking sometimes by the end of this first quarter. And that doesn't mean a huge change in trend, okay? I'm not there quite yet. I think we're going to have profit taking, and that's going to last a month or so. Then another big surge up to complete maybe the final push up on the markets overall. But I don't think the major top on the markets is going to occur until probably the latter half of 2024, or maybe the late part of 2024. Don't forget, it's an election year, so they can keep the markets fairly stimulated as well. All right, so Spider, I wouldn't go into it now. We're seeing a yellow PTF here, but if you're in it, just have your stops on these pyramids here. That's what they're there for, okay? All right, IBB, so not bearish quite yet. All right, and Dan's asking this as well. Dan or Regina, rather. Okay, so again here, nice move up. Again, if you were going long in this, this probably would have been a better area than here because we're getting probably close to a little bit of a pullback. We're getting close. We may get one more quick high on this, but you know, again, probably a pullback. The weekly chart is a different story. Okay, if we open up that weekly chart, let's take a look at this. This is a wave 3 as well. All right, and we've had a nice little pullback, and we've had a run up. And notice here we have broken these support levels, so that's key. So I'm thinking maybe long term, this wouldn't be a bad buy. This, you know, could be the bottom. This is obviously the bottom, but this could be the most recent bottom that should hold. You may get a pullback, might go something like this before it goes, so you have to be careful on stop loss placement. If you go long here, you may want to wait for the pullback first, but it is looking pretty good overall for a long trade. Again, you know, it's popped up from one, you know, my first entry would have been around 17, and we're at 135 on this. So long term, I'd say a buy on this. Short term, you might want to wait for the pullback. So I'll put this down as a buy long term, okay? But short term, wait for the pullback. So any of these that are based on long-term buys only, that means we're probably going to have a pullback at some point, okay, from a short-term perspective. All right, good job. All right, Mr. Frank Turpin, how are you? Okay, ECOR. It's been a long-term client of ours for quite some time. So glad to see you here, Frank. All right, so I get why you're looking at this as a possible buy. Notice we're getting a nice move up off the bottom on the weekly chart. Let's open that bad boy up. But we still have a red PTF, okay? That's the thing that's causing me problems on here, Frank. Okay, so I probably need to wait for this to confirm by going green, all right? So what happens sometimes is you can get a profit-taking wave up, but not a change in trend, and instead it goes back down, which is what the PTF is telling us it's going to do. And then it turns yellow, and then we get the new trend up from there. So I'm kind of thinking I would hold off on this at this particular point. And even on the short-term charts, it's already pretty far up there. However, it looks like it's going up a little further according to the green PTF on the daily chart. But I would not do this, okay? All right, RNG, Ring. Ring has been on our buy list here for our subscription service called the More Report. And it's breaking off the bottom here, so we're liking that green PTF. Notice on the weekly chart, we have no longer an active pyramid. And recently, we just went above this level here after a pullback. So we technically have some form of uptrend. If you want to be conservative and wait for it to get here for a long-term trade, you certainly could do it. But this is bullish, and I'm kind of liking this for a trade. Now, with that said, all right, we've had a pullback, or we've had a pullback here. So I'm thinking probably at this point here, the only issue I see with this is that we have to get above these in order for us to really know that we're in a long-term bullish market. Okay, my suspect is we are, all right, but from a short-term perspective, this is my target. So if I take a look, and I have the data window on another monitor here, but if I take a look at this here, the high is 43.28, so 43.29 is the high. You'd have to put your stop under one of these levels here. So your risk to reward is not quite there at this point, okay? So I probably would not go into it for a short-term trade, long-term trade, okay, all right? So I guess we could put Ring down for long-term. But again, when I say long-term, you got to be in this for years. So that's not exactly an active short-term trade. All right, and let's take a look at CCL. And CCL is bouncing around here. Give me 1 second. And let's put the data there. Okay, so pulling back a little bit right now. All right, and that's a healthy thing. I have no problem with that. We just took out the high here. Let's see where this is going long term. Not much data here. Well, I take that back. That is just off the chart. Okay, there we have it. All right, so we have a bottom here. I'm liking that, actually. All right, this is actually the wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. I think we got a serious bottom here. Okay, so I'm actually kind of liking that. All right, let's just say it's going to skim along a while. There's a lot of white up here for it to move into. So if we grab even a fib retracement here, and if this thing retraces a decent amount of this big move up, you're talking a profit area between 29.85 to 44.46, and we're at 16. That's not too bad. If it gets into the middle part of that target zone, that's 100% return. Okay, I'm liking that. All right, so that looks pretty good. Pullback is still in place here. So let's take a look at this next week. This goes on the watch list because what we want to do is not go long until we're sure this movement down is over. And with the red here, and active pyramids here and here, it may not be quite over. I think it's close to possibly being over, because if we draw some fib retracements and base them off here and here, we're in the target. It just looks like it's going to go a little deeper. So maybe by next week, this thing will be ready. Okay, but not for right now. So excellent. All right, let's keep moving on here. Okay, so you cannot see the 60-minute chart, the PTF on the 60-minute chart when it's opened up. Really? So you can't see that? Should be able to see that. Maybe it didn't load. Maybe it took a little longer to load. Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. All right, so let's keep moving down. More from Ted here via Gene. All right. XLK. I don't think we've looked at this one before. All right, so you're long on all these, and that's exactly where you should be. Okay. However, okay, we're in a territory here where we got to kind of expect some type of possible pullback. So just use the pyramids. Okay. So have your stop here at 183.99. You've got a green PTF on the daily. You've got no bearish divergence on the owl on the 60-minute. I would hold this. Okay, just hold it. Let's look at it next week. I'm not initiating this as a buy for anybody new because it's too far gone. But if you're already long in it, just hold it. Okay, and look at it next week because we may be getting close to a short-term top on this. Okay, your next one, same thing. Okay, just hold it. You've got green PTFs. You've reached above this key level of resistance on the weekly chart. So I think you're probably going on to, more highs on this. Probably you're good to at least 48 to 50 short term. And again, you had a big move up. You've had 4 pyramids here. So you're probably going to get a little bit of a pullback, maybe into the 42 range before it goes up. So I'm not going to recommend this, but if you're in it like you are, you just want to hold it. Just use a pyramid to put your stop on. Okay, TA, or come here every week if you don't have our software, and we'll tell you where to put it. So, all right, so here's OKTA. All right, this one's a little different, okay? Weekly chart. Notice this basing pattern, but it hasn't broken above any of these. But let's put this on a watch list, because if it does, it could be a really nice long trade. All right, so it looks like it's going to break above this one pretty soon, according to this. I don't like the red PTF here. So when you have a red PTF on a 60-minute or any chart that's different than the next time frame, like here, okay, you have an issue where they're not in sync, right? So when they're not in sync, I usually hold off on doing anything until they get into sync, or at least they are not going against each other. So the way I read this is when the lower time frame is a different color than the higher time frame, because the daily is higher than the 60, then the lower time frame usually happens first. So this looks like it's going to go down here below the $80 mark. And if this stays green, then it should reverse and then take out the high. So remember, PTFs don't tell us how extensive a correction is going to be before it's right, nor does it tell us when, right? It just tells us eventually there's a 75% probability that the PTF will be right. So in this case, in order for it to be right on the 60-minute, it would have to come down first, all right, and then go up according to the daily. So in this particular case here, if you're long here, all right, if you can weather a drop below 80, then you might want to hang in there. If not, you may want to think about getting out here and getting back in when the 60-minute chart turns more bullish. That's a personal thing, up to you, okay? All right. Okay, Stuart likes I'll show this. Stuart likes only 3 stocks at a time. Yeah, we thought that would be good. And that's based on your guys' feedback. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's see. Our next set is Alexander. Hello, Alexander. How are you? NIO. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so Alexander, here's where we looked on this one before, and we went below the bottom. All right, this is a great example of the PTF being incorrect. Whenever it changes from a solid color, like a green to a solid red, or a solid red to a green, that's one of the 25% times it didn't work. All right, you just have to take it on the chin and get out. Okay, so this is why we use stops, right? Even with a proven edge, we're not going to be right all the time. Everything is probabilities. So, you don't want to be long NIO at this point, okay? Any long position taken earlier, you'd be out, okay? Just the way it is, all right? If you trade this swing up, you could have taken profit there, but if you were in it for the long haul and had your stop here, you would have been stopped out, all right? So now we have a new area. We'll slide this thing down. Unfortunately, we still have a red PTF now, okay, because it turned from green to red. So in this case here, don't go long yet, okay, because we're still working our way down according to this PTF. So you got to hold off, okay? You can't do anything with this, all right? If you went long, this would have been a losing trade, okay? All right, PTD. Let's take a look at PTD. All right, nice move to the upside here. Okay, really super nice. All right, again, I don't think I would jump in it here. Okay, it looks like we have a red PTF on the 60-minute time frame, but I think overall probably after it pulls back, it'll continue. But for the situation, I think you can get a better price if you wait this one out. Okay, that's PDD. Okay, SOFI. SOFI. All right, so here is SOFI, and this one has pulled back some, so that's a good sign. All right, it's kind of in a basing pattern on the weekly chart. Not a lot of history, so pretty tough to get an Elliott wave count on that weekly chart. All right, let's see what we've got cooking here. We've had a little bit of pull up here. The only trade I see here that's a possibility, and even that one's a kind of a risky one, is a PTF trade based on the 60-minute chart. So what is that? That's going to be a target here, because you take the highest price bar in the PTF green area, and that's your target. If you put your stop at the bottom, your risk to reward's not going to be there. You'd have to put it right here, okay? And that risk here is fairly close in terms of points, but you do have a 2-to-1 to the target. So that's the only trade I see. I'm not going to recommend it because it is a more risky trade. You're going against the pyramid, but that would be the only possible trade I see on SOFI, okay, at this particular point. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see what else we got. All right. Ted via Gene again. Okay. MDT. Let's see what we got cooking here. All right. So we've got green PTFs on the daily, and that's it. Okay. So let's just see if there's anything opening up here that's possible on this chart here. All right. Okay. Not bad. All right. We've had a correction again here, lower than the COVID low. That's interesting. You don't see many stocks where that's happened. Usually the COVID low has not been exceeded on many stocks. So the fact that that is kind of interesting. All right. So you definitely, let's measure that and see where we're kind of going. So we're kind of in that target zone there. So we reached the target. We don't have a red PTF anymore, and we have a bounce off the target. We no longer have a bearish pyramid. Now, on the long-term time frame, we definitely don't quite yet have a trend definition in place. And the reason I say that is for the definition of a trend to be met, a bullish one, you have to have higher highs and higher lows. So we have a high, all right, but we need a pullback and then another push up to meet the definition of an uptrend, and we make it a pyramid in here at that point. So it's a little premature, okay, on the weekly chart to say that we are in an uptrend definitively yet. Now, when we look at the lower time frames, we may see a little bit more activity because you have more price bars per given set of time on the lower time frames. Okay, so again, not too much yet here. We're starting to see a little bit of a pullback here, but you have a pretty straight up. So what you got to be careful is if you have a bottom here, this pullback, all right, would be some form of a wave 2 or possibly even a B wave. And these are tricky waves because they can retrace 100% of the entire move. That's what sometimes causes double tops and double bottoms, right? So you got to be careful here. So I don't think I would jump in at this level, especially after you've had, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 P pyramids and one MP pyramid. I do think maybe you might get one more subtle high because it looks like the 60-minute chart is calling for that. But I don't think it's going to be significant enough to warrant a trade. So what I would do instead on this is let's put this on our watch list and take a look at this every week. Wait for the pullback. And then let's see, okay, if we get a decent price, a better price. I just want to make sure that we have a definition of an uptrend in place significantly on the next leg pullback for us to really think about this in terms of a more significant trade, okay? Good one to look at, though. Okay, AG, NC, let's take a look at that. Well, you guys are coming up with some good ones here. All right, so, all right, red PTF right away jumps out at me on the weekly chart. So right away, that's telling me, according to the PTF, that we do not have a bottom in yet. Now, that doesn't mean we can't have a retracement up here before it does that, okay? So sometimes you can actually take a long trade if the lower charts indicate a decent profit potential on the pullback up, all right? But it's not a bottom, so it's not a buy and hold, okay? So if my broker called me on this one for a buy and hold, and this is showing red here, I'd say no thank you, but let's keep an eye on it, all right? So that's how you use technical analysis along with maybe recommendations from your broker, okay? So that type of thing, all right? So I'm not seeing anything jumping out at me on the lower time frame, so I'd pass on this one, okay? And then your last one, ON here, let's take a look at that one, okay? We looked at this for a pullback a while back, and we got that, but we don't need those retracements anymore. So let's remove all of those. All right, same here. We were looking for this little pullback, and we got it. And then we got the next big move up. So fibs are very powerful, okay? All right, so we got a green PTF. I'm liking that. Red, notice it went from red to green 25% of the time. When it does that, that's the time it actually is not working. So a couple things here, all right? If you wanted to look for a PTF long trade, probably not quite the timing is good yet because we got a bearish pyramid here, all right? We've got red here. Chances are we're coming back down all right? And if we draw a FIV extension based off the Elliott wave count here, then we're probably looking at some form of target between 67 to 61. So I think it's coming down a little further. And even if it does, okay, if we go down to this area, which I think there's a strong probability we will, this could stay green the entire time. So you kind of want to wait for that to happen before actually initiating the PTF trade. And that would be a better PTF trade then, because you'll have even a better or higher target and probably a lower risk, a better risk to reward in your favor, okay? So if you're long on all these, again, and you want to stay with them because you have a green PTF, you got to be prepared for this to go a little bit lower, okay? So you have to have your stop set. All right, also RIVN. All right, so we looked at this before, not a lot of history on this, but again, you know, we kind of like we're looking at this area here on the daily chart. So again, you know, if you traded this little move up, you would have been stopped out here. Nice little profit on that. If it's a long-term trade, you got to keep those stops at the bottom because after you get that big pull up, then if this is a wave 2, it could retrace 100% for a possible double bottom. So any stop you use after the first move up is kind of one of those situations that it increases the risk of getting stopped out. Now, I will say we had a nice move up and a stop here certainly would be warranted there. Chances are if you take that out, then that may take out the bottom. So that would be okay. I would not go long here, okay? It's still coming down. We may be close to that ending, so we could certainly take a look at it, but I wouldn't do anything with that yet. All right, no long there. All right, back to Alexander. All right, PayPal. Let's take a look at PayPal. Okay, so PayPal showed some possibility in terms of a bottom, okay? And we're having a green. If you look at the weekly chart on the far right, I won't open it up, but if you look at it, notice here, let me just open it up a little bit like that. Notice here, we looked at this before, and this was our target, okay? So we thought it would go somewhere up into this area. We now have a green owl, which is a good sign. So we may even get a larger proportional target. So now that that owl is green, I'm going to move this back up to a more significant high here. All right. And when you're trading this and you're actually entering the trade, you want to get those as accurate as possible, okay, the retracements. So possibly now that we have a green owl, we probably are in a major wave 4 or even better on the weekly chart. So we can redraw that into what makes sense on the weekly chart, and that's 144 to 202. That's a 100% return. Love that, right? All right, let's see what the lower time frames say. Okay, we moved it up here. Okay, we had to pull back another high, so we got some form of uptrend here. Okay, so on this chart here, on the 60, we have a red PTF. So that's holding us back, all right? So it's showing that there's a 75% probability that will probably go below that short-term low. So that actual figure, let me get you the actual number on that low, is 63.46. So probably right around 63. Let me just make sure I get that right. I think it's actually a little lower. Okay, that's 58.90. So there is a 75% probability that will eventually wind down and get below 58.90. So let's hold off on this, but let's go ahead and put this on a watch list. And if you're in it already, you got to have your stop really low, okay? A stop down at the bottom should hold just fine, okay? But if you're, you know, if you have it any closer, even up in this area here, you would have been stopped out. So you got to keep that stop pretty low. I guess maybe the pyramid down here might be okay because that would survive any normal retracement, but would not survive a double bottom, okay? And we did get another high. So I don't think you're going to get a double bottom. You probably could be okay in this area, maybe now here because you had one more high. But I wouldn't do anything yet. Let's take a look at it next week after that and see if the PTF is still red on the 60-minute chart, okay? That's PayPal. All right, Alexander, let's take a look at V. All right, V has run up quite a bit. We have a green PTF just emerging now on the weekly chart, so more highs are coming. Oh boy, let's see. All right, I'm going to open this one up. And let's take a look and see. Big move up, classic Elliott wave 3. All right, it looks like we peaked out on the oscillator here. So this would have been actually the longer term 3, okay, there. So we've got bearish divergence building here, so maybe a 3. Let's just see if this retraced enough, though. I'm a little concerned to see if this did retrace enough for a standard 4. So let's go ahead and take a look at Viv extensions. I'm going to draw them from here to here because I'm trying to see if that, well, all right, okay, possibly, okay. So this is either a 3 where I've labeled it, or it could be even a 3 here. This is kind of one of these that's a little tricky to tell, all right. So I'm kind of thinking that this owl's the highest one. Then we had the COVID pullback. All right, then we had another high. So I think kind of like the stock market, we may be in 3 still, actually, at this point. Okay, so if that's the case, then I would probably redraw this and it's still going up. Okay, so I think we're in the ending era of this big move up. All right, but it does look like more highs. But again, you know, are you chasing the market here? You've had 3 pyramids in a row. You might get a little bit more, but you have to go to the short-term charts to see what kind of room there could be left in this move up. So let's do that. All right, so again, you got green here, all right, and you've got a nice movement up here. Let's take a look and see what the target is for this move inside the major move. All right, so let's go ahead and draw some extensions here, from here to here to here. We're pretty close to a possible target. So my target on this to the upside is 292 to 364. Pretty significant, okay? Big move up. My only thing is that at this particular point, too close to the target for me to initiate a trade. All right, plus you're getting a pullback on the 60. So I kind of hold off on that. All right, SMTC. All right, so this one here, all right, is come down. Question is, do we have a bottom? We have green PTFs on the short-term time frame, so that's a good thing. We have some active pyramids here. So we may have a bottom here, okay? It's possible. The long-term charts do not indicate that yet, though, okay? You have to keep that in mind. So any long trade that you would think trying to get in super early here on this one, all right, is one based on the lower time frames. And because it's not being in sync really with the longer term charts, cut your trade size in half, okay, to compensate for the more risk, okay. I'm not going to initiate anything on this yet because it's pulling back now, okay. Last week it was pulling up, now it's pulling back. Let's see what happens and take a look at this next week, okay. All right, thanks, Alexander, good job. All right. Oh my gosh, did we get to the bottom of the list? Say it ain't so. Well, I guess we've been here for over an hour, so that's pretty good. All right. Anybody have anything else out there? Anything else? All right. Yep, John, we did okay. We did okay on that. He's referring to our day trading room. Okay, so, and that was, yes. Okay, good. All right, well, let me go over, whoop, Alexander's back, okay? If you have any more, start typing them in now, okay? That way I don't end the session before you've had a chance. Okay, so go ahead and type any more in you have now, all right? So let's take a look at MA. All right, so MA, okay, you're going against the red PTF here, okay, on the weekly chart. It's a little bit extended to do anything. I don't think I would do anything with this one, okay? GPN, let's take a look at that one. And this one's a little bit more interesting because here you've got a nice wave 3, and now you have a move down here. So a couple things, you know, when you look at charts like we're looking at here, there's some that are pretty clear, there's some that are not. When you see this type of movement up here, it jumps out at you. The only thing that caused a problem in all the stocks was COVID, okay? That's the only thing that created a more orderly looking pattern. So the COVID, I'm dismissing as a major 4 on all markets and basically continuing that as a 3. So here's your 3 here. Okay, here's your 4. And so now are we going into 5? Boy, it looks like it might be. Okay, that's pretty good. So this is one, for example, that jumps out at me. So when I look at all these, what you kind of want to do is look for the ones that jump out on you. All right, because those are going to be the clearest ones. So our target zone for this is way up to 220 to 299. Okay, that's really good. And we have higher highs and higher lows. So we have an uptrend in place. We have green here, nothing red here. So I'm kind of liking that. Okay, no active pyramids to the downside. All right, one early entry pyramid down here because this is an NP. You can take an NP after 4 Ps. So you got a reason to be in this trade, and you've got just about a 2-to-1 putting you in the target zone here. Okay, so looking good. This is looking good. I'm going to put this down as a buy. All right, this is the best one from today. Okay, I'm going to put a little star by that one. All right, again, kind of a long-term trade. All right, but I think it's not going to be as long-term as some of the others that I showed you. So I'm liking that one. Good job on that one. All right, let's take a look at your other one, SLAP. Good thing you put these up here, right? All right, so, all right, red PTF on this one. This one I don't like as much as your other one. GPN was much better. We're seeing a retracement here. All right, so you may have a bottom down here, okay? But you have a red PTF, so that's saying no bottom. All right, so that's why I'm not crazy about this one. Now, short term. All right, sometimes you can say, well, no trade on the long term, no trade on the daily, the intermediate position trade, but you might have a trade sometimes on the 60-minute chart alone. And if we look here, you've got a PTF here. So this is your target. All right, we're kind of due for a red here. I don't think I would take the trade here because we're still coming down. But if this works its way down, we get a red owl and then it turns green again, and we could get a different, a decent rather, entry in for a PTF trade. I would consider that, okay? But not now, all right? So there you have it, okay? All right. All right, let's see what we got. Alexander, thank you, you too. All right, and GPN is a buy from Alexander. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else coming in, so that is really good. All right, let me quickly go over the winners. I'm not going to open up each individual chart, but I'm going to read them off. So if you got, grab a pen and pencil, all right, and so you can write these down. All right, so I'm going to, I guess, turn on my webcam and go over these. All right, so winners for today. All right, TRIP, long term. So this is one where you're going to be in it for a while, like years. All right, FIVN, same thing, long term. USO, we're liking that, and you can take that one right away. All these you can take right away. IBB, again, long term, but you can take it right away. RNG, long term, but you can take it right away. My favorite today is GPN. From a short term outlook, that looks really good. All right, on the watch list, DWAC, CCL, OKTA, MBT, can't even read my own writing, I think DT maybe, all right, and PayPal, PYPL, okay? So those are the ones for this week that we found. So we found 1, 2, 3, what do we got? 6, pretty good, but most of those are long-term. We got USO and GPN as kind of a short-term trade. So good job today, everybody. It's getting a little tougher to find them because we're getting, I think, close to a, let's just say a short-term top that should yield to some profit taking pretty soon. So we got to be a little bit careful on the ones we actually go into. But once we get a pullback in the market, then I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities. Now, we didn't really look at the cryptos today except for Coinbase, but they're all pulling back a little bit and they're not done yet. So hold off on those because I think you're going to have a great opportunity on those as well. All right, so I'm going to put what I usually do when I end the session today, or every session for that matter, is I usually put the intraday time frames up with some music on just before I close the room. And I'll do that today. And other than that, we'll see you next week. All right, have a great week. One other thing I do want to announce is that we are going to put an overall market review. And we're going to cover not only the stock market, but the housing market. And so that's going to happen every Wednesday here at YouTube. So we have the notification up for you to find that potential webinar coming up on next Wednesday. So if you're subscribed to our channel, find it, hit the notify button. That way you won't miss it, okay? But that'll be Wednesday of next week in the morning. All right, have a great week. We'll see you back here next week, and I will go ahead and put the intraday time frames up. Oh, look at this move. This is when I'm just going to explain this real quickly. So when I put the intraday time frames up, it's the same type of analysis that we do in the longer time frames. The only difference is the time frames are much shorter, okay? And so, for example, on these time frames, we have the 15-second, the 1 minute, and the 5-minute chart. And so if we're trading these short time frames during the day, these are great charts to use. As you can see, the pyramids work on both long-term and intraday time frames for day trading. Super great trade to the short side on MCL. So anyway, it's probably too late to actually trade this, and don't trade this at home. You know, talk to your financial advisor before you get involved in any, especially short-term trades, to make sure they're suitable for you. But I'll show these up for entertainment, and you can take a look at these. This is still moving down, so if you were short on this or thinking about going short, it's too late to go short. The trade was already a better trade early on. So keep that in mind. I might bounce around. Let's take a look at the MES and see what that's doing. All right, that's kind of going sideways for a while here. So when we day trade, we look for specific patterns in order to initiate our trade. And so sometimes you have to wait a little while. So it's not always as quick as you think it is. Here's a pennant that just got busted to the upside on NG, which is Henry Hub. And then we have the NASDAQ as well. So a little bit of sideways motion on the equities, but it looks like they're starting to move up. All right, let's take one look at where's gold? There it is. Gold market. All right, so gold market is kind of oscillating near a bottom after a move down. And so it looks like this is the funnest one to end on today, okay? I imagine we'll get a pull-up pretty soon on MCL. All right, and that pull-up probably should be at the very least. We'll draw some fib retracements. Should be right around in this area here, I think. All right, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, so we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. I'll put a little music on.